So remember that we're going with this theme that in this particular case, we're going to say P of X is equal to A times X minus H plus K. So now if I look at that, my A term is equal to -1, right? This is -1 if I think about it. Isn't that -1 right there in the front? Now, I don't have anything in parentheses, so then my H value would be equal to 0, and I don't have like +3 or something outside, so K is equal to 0. So now remember, H is what we call a horizontal shift, so we'll just say HS. You'll know by the time we're done that HS means horizontal shift, and K is what we call the vertical shift. So we're not moving this graph left or right, and we're not moving it up or down. But we are flipping it because when A is negative, it flips it. And you'll say, well, why is that? Well, let's plug in some numbers, okay? This point right here is -1, 1. Actually, so let's see what that means. So when I plug in -1 for X, that's going to give me a corresponding value for Y. Well, Y is equal to whatever X is squared. What's -1 squared? +1. Now this one's going to give me the negative of whatever X squared is. So if X squared is 1, then this one's going to give me -1. So down here, I've got -1, -1, right? Well, let's do this point over here. This point here is 1, +1. And so when I plug in 1 for X, this is my first equation, Y equals X squared. That's this thing right here. That's this one right here. So 1 squared is 1, and then the negative of 1 squared, which is 1, is -1. And that's this point right here. 1, -1. So notice that when A is negative, we're taking whatever value for Y we have and multiplying it by this value here. And if it's negative, it takes all of it and makes it the opposite sign. Okay? And no matter what value I plug in here, that's what I'm going to get, unless I plug in 0, right? So if I plug in 0, 0 squared is going to be 0. And then the negative of 0 squared is just 0. And that's where they both touch, is right here at 0, 0. Okay? So I'm going to plug this in the graphing calculator. Do you guys have this written down? Can I jump to the next screen so you can see this live and direct? So here, this is basically what I have. If I plug K and set it equal to 0, and I have H and I set it equal to 0, what's going on here is as this A term turns into a negative, notice that it flattens it. Right here when A equals 0, I have a horizontal line, but as soon as it goes negative, it flips over. So if I change A to -1, I basically have these points, right? So there's this point here, -1, 1. It's going to be hard for me to zoom in on it. Let me try to, I don't know if I'll be able to get it right on the thing. But you could see how that point is, -1, 1. And then these are the negative Y values because we're basically multiplying them by -1 because that's what A is. So we're saying Y is equal to all this stuff. And then when I put in the -1 for A, I'm saying whatever this is, multiply by -1, and that's how you get this flip thing. Okay? Are there any questions on that one? Okay. Let me just check one thing. I think I'll stop the video.